What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode. We're going to be talking about something really cool that just happened at our specific game, and maybe you guys can relate.
Yeah, and to be honest, this video is going to be kind of just like story time. We're just going to go back and forth and tell some of the crazy things that happened in the session, and then we'll kind of like touch on, teaching points as we're going to probably, but here we go, story time. So I'm going to give you a little bit of backstory with our campaign that's happening right now. I'll try to keep it brief because I know, the retelling of D&D stories sometimes just gets old and boring, and it's like, yeah, it's like someone telling you about their dreams.
Right.
It's just like, okay, and then and then what happened? You said you drove off a cliff, but you were fine. Whatever. So, but the players, I'm not gonna say the Shimmer tips. All right, maybe we will. Maybe we should. All right, fine. It'll come up. It's got to come up. It's hilarious. So all the players just came back from this town that they found out is like inhabited by a vampire and a bunch of crazy stuff going on there. And they almost died the night before. It was a crazy, like, lethal fight and everything else. But they recovered and they went back to the original starting town, kind of like the town they met. And it's kind of like just the base town for the game so far.
Yeah, it's pretty much home base right now.
Exactly. So that little town's called Shellfire. Anyway, they come back to this town, and there's a bunch of new, interesting Capitol guards that are kind of shifty and like checking the place out. And they're a little weird. The players are already onto their weirdness, and they seem untrustworthy in general. But the thing that's happening right now in the game is magic is kind of illegal. So a lot of the players in our game are magic users, of course.
I think every single one.
Yeah, at least a little bit. So that's kind of an issue. But the players are aware that the Capitol Guards are there, kind of like checking on that. So they go to their favorite shopkeep, who is a little old red tiefling, owns a little magic shop. And goodness, so they see a few of the Capitol Guards there, and what even happened?
Well, I'll cut in.
Okay.
So, Red is kind of like this old lady that we rib at a lot, more or less. I don't want to say we bully her, but we definitely give her a go around every time we see her. And we've kind of got accustomed to it. But some other people, the magic authorities or whatever they are, started giving her the go around, and we didn't like that. And so we had to, start messing with them at the same time. And as we saw, Red got harassed. One of our players decided to disguise themselves as Red's granddaughter, someone we've never been introduced to or even had the faintest recognition of.
Yeah, Red has not mentioned family at all.
Not
She's
once.
just a lone old lady. So this is the first time this has come up.
Right. Now we're really forcing some backstory here. And then and then as she walks up impersonating Red's granddaughter, trying to just in general confuse the magic authorities.
So at this point, Giselle is the character name that is impersonating Red's granddaughter. So Giselle used some illusion powers to give herself horns, and she's very plainly a human, and there's a whole back and forth that was interesting, and Red didn't catch on to the bit at first. You guys were just trying to kind of distract the guards so that they would leave Red alone.
Mm-hmm.
And the guards used this opportunity to be like, well, Red, you better open up the door so your granddaughter can come in. And Red was like, leaned out the door and was just like, I hate you, go away. I disowned you forever ago, you know this, whatever. This is a whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Senile old Red, we love it though.
So long story short, I feel like I'm gonna be saying that a lot. Long story short.
Oh, trust me, it's gonna get much longer.
Yeah, I'm surprised you even clicked the video. I didn't notice that it was an hour long. I don't know if you've seen that. But Giselle convinced the guards that you guys were actually a band.
Yeah,
which they are not.
We actually even have a bard in the party, but he's not a musical bard, and he kind of like states that almost like to
like kill the trope.
Yeah, to like break out of the character concept, So it's like really funny that we got to force that on him this time.
Yeah, pretty good. So you guys convince the guards that you're a traveling band, and that you're of course, Giselle follows that up with, we have a show tonight at the local tavern. You should come check it out.
Actually, I don't think we had I don't think the show existed until the guards
Oh.
were walking out of the
You're right.
the thing, and she was like, "Come see our show," and everyone was like,
You're right. That's the best part. So at first it was just an excuse, like we're just a band, we're not adventurers or
Right.
anything.
like I'm pretty sure at some point it was like, "So what are you doing?" It's like 5 other dudes following you, and he was like,
Yeah, this isn't as weird as it looks.
"Right."
Because Giselle's definitely the only lady in the party. So anyway, weird. So they do a few more things in town, and then the next time they encounter guards, they specifically say, "Oh yeah, we're that band, the Shimmer Tips, and we've got a show later tonight." And of course, the rest of the party just looks at her and is just kind of like, "What are you talking about? What are you doing?"
We were like on the way out the door to go fight this vampire that kind of just whipped us. But you know, a concert.
Yeah.
It's time.
So she said it, and then kind of, I guess, really forced you all to kind of uphold that part of the fib.
Yeah. Well, in our defense, the Jarl of the city, the person who rules it, is hardcore on our side. And
Oh, yeah.
she's using magic. We're allowed to use magic so long as we don't tell the Magic Society. And as we're trying to make sure that we don't blow our own cover, if we get too risky with things, we'll blow hers as well. So
That's true.
we can't say things and not do it, especially since when we said that, we were literally standing in the Jarl's Hall trying to get debriefed on a vampire invasion.
Yep. And the guards just leave. They're like, all right. No, I guess we'll see. So, of course, the players go through the rest of their day there, figuring out things, sorting out all the craziness they've been going through and everything. And it gets to the point that it's concert time. It's the night, and I guess to uphold the lie, you guys have to play a concert now. What even happened from there?
Oh gosh. Well, all right. So as we were finally making our way to the tavern, this place that we call home, more or less, we're able to sleep there every single time that we come to town. And I'm sure you guys probably know that tavern too.
Yeah. It's the one, the local tavern.
Of course. But as we got to that tavern, we really needed to have this cover be the real thing. So we needed to have some instruments. Luckily enough, a few of our party happened to have some instruments, just a part of character creation or their backstories.
Mhm.
And we were able to use some things. Eventually we got a lute, a drum. I'm a frog, so I just croaked as a background singer.
Yep.
Yeah, it was a weird conglomerate of instruments,
It
to
was
say
pretty
the
weird.
least.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, and not to mention, we actually had to almost kick out the planned music that was gonna be there that night, and man, old Ballsy was real mad about that.
Yeah, that poor halfling.
What was his name?
Bimley.
Bimbley.
Bimbley. He called himself Bimbley the Ballsy.
He's a very timid man.
He is. Yeah. Okay, so so you guys go to the tavern. Also, the first time you encountered these, magic Capital Guard guys that are kind of shifty.
Mhm.
You guys weren't cooperative.
Oh yeah. The second we walked into Shellfire, after literally just getting our butts kicked, we get almost harassed by these guards. So obviously no one's gonna be nice to them. There might have been a few your mama jokes. I tried to shake his hand, but they never take my hand. I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't know. They just
It's like a grung that has poison skin. You shouldn't shake its hand. I don't know, man.
I will say this is the first time in the campaign that someone has been like, "Oh, I know what you're trying to do." Everyone else just goes for it. So I mean, that is different slightly.
Right.
But anyway, so they got on the wrong foot.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
So when they go to the tavern to do this concert, there are a couple of these guards just in the corner of the tavern, just waiting, just kind of monitoring the situation, and they seemed very attentive once the players walked in. And
No one ever shows up to your invite when they're like, "Yeah, sure, we'll show up."
They did it. Yeah. Yeah, for real. It's like, you should come see my show tonight. And then they were there, actually.
I never have that luck.
So you guys started playing. The whole thing was run kind of just like a series of skill checks. It was like a skill challenge situation going on. And at one point, your character actually did kind of poorly hiding some bardic inspiration use.
My first roll, I had a terrible roll, but not a natural one. You know, it's just like a 6 or a 7, but I had bardic inspiration and I could use it. So I went for it, and unfortunately, it didn't really help much. But at the same time, magic is on high alert. So if they see a sign of magic at all, I need to make a stealth check. And even though I'm amazing at stealth, I just happen to botch that one too. And then throughout my musical performance of the night, I had 2 more natural ones, and mind you, my performance and charisma is at 8, so that's a -1 for 0 performance. I may as well have stabbed myself in the eye while singing.
Right. So your first round, you did pretty good on backup folks, thanks to the bardic inspiration, but
True.
They caught on real quick, and they're like, uh-oh, this is...
Right.
We knew it. We knew something was up with these guys, you know.
Why does this frog use auto-tune?
Yeah, literally. I described it too. They're like, how would you know if they're using bardic inspiration? Well, it's kind of like when someone's lip syncing or using auto-tune, you know, just magical. So, man, it got wild. So these 2 magic guard people basically start rushing the stage, and they're like, that's the one, we're gonna grab him. They start rushing the stage, headed towards you, and the players tried to like switch the stuff, you know, switch the song vibes a little bit.
The coolest thing about this entirely was, like, we had a combat encounter last night, but nobody was actually in combat. We were able to fight with, like, music, more or less skill checks, and different kinds of roles where we affected them trying to affect us, and they couldn't get to us.
Yeah.
Like, just, like, all the different kinds of, like, concert things that you see in a movie, you would have been able to do, like, oh, mosh pit, crowd surf, like, all those kinds of stuff, like, slipping through the crowd, they can't get me, anything.
Yeah, for sure. And it was, I mean, that's pretty much how it went too. It got crazy. There was, so as soon as they started rushing the stage, I gave the players one more like skill challenge to kind of react to what's happening. It's like, all right, well, what are you guys doing as you're seeing this happening? And one of the last rounds, if not the last round of skill challenges, because I think I just ended it afterwards because it was insane. There were 4 of the players rolling. 3 of them rolled natural 20s on the skill challenge.
Yeah, not me though.
That's still not you. Yeah, that's true. So, you know, they're trying to like rush and grab Rib. That's the character name, Rib. Grab him by the ribs. No. So the crowd, right? The crowd kind of just like pulls them off the stage and starts crowd surfing them, and eventually they just get sick of it and they leave.
I mean, come on. How often do you think the crowd's gonna let somebody else in the crowd beat up the band? That never happens.
Yeah, especially when you guys are back here just rocking out Thunderstruck.
Exactly.
So,
but I was singing Shiny Teeth.
yeah. They knew. It was like, no one can do Chip Skylark that way. So, yeah, eventually they leave. But it really was, the whole situation, first off, was completely unplanned on my part as the DM, because Carly just threw that out there. It was like, all right, see you at the show tonight.
Right.
And it was like, I guess that's how this session's going now.
Which is kind of cool. It's like, not a lot of times do you really think about one line that can change the like direction of everybody's like events at the table, but like it really is just that simple where you can affect things and everything else.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what player agency looks like. It really was. She said one line, see you at the show tonight, we'll be there, kind of thing, and it changed the whole game from there. So that was fun.
Definitely.
But as a DM, I gotta say, just let your players do stuff sometimes, you know? Like, if you got a plan and a player says something and it doesn't coincide with your plan at all, just let the players do stuff. And something I've found that if it's like something like that where you don't really know how to handle what's going to happen now, I'm a firm believer that you can just, whatever's happening, run it with some sort of role. Like, if in this example, I was just like, it's just going to be a skill challenge. So everyone's just going to roll dice. I'll set some DCs, and it's just going to, you know, whatever happens is going to be fine. We'll narrate it as it goes.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. Like, it was just a skill challenge. I narrated it the way everyone rolled. It was sick.
No, honestly, my favorite part about that was like it actually felt like a combat encounter, but it wasn't bogged down by any of the mechanics. So we were all able to just do the things that we needed to do.
Yeah.
It was almost like a narrative combat encounter.
I totally agree. I often wonder if you could run combat like that. Like,
That would be
throw
fun.
away all the rules. Everything's just like vague. I want to do this. I want to do this for my stuff. And it's like, okay, roll whatever you're doing. If you're trying to like be stealthy and get behind someone, roll stealth check. If you're trying to just attack, roll your attack roll, and just run it like a skill challenge, setting DCs for everything. And
That could be pretty cool. I also noticed there's a player at our table that like really engages when combat's around, but maybe like is less engaged for social stuff. And they were really engaged this time, and that was a social encounter. There's no denying that, and they were all about it. So I thought that was really cool.
yeah, 100%. Back to handling when things happen that you really didn't expect as a DM. The other day, I mentioned this in one of our YouTube shorts too. The other day we were playing a one shot and a character wanted to like use a spell. It was a one shot, so the players didn't really know their characters that well. They just made them. They didn't know their spells that well or whatever, but they were underground and a player wanted to use Call Lightning. And like technically Call Lightning only works if there's a place for there to be like a cloud that apparates to, you know, throw lightning bolts at people.
Yeah.
But right there, like he didn't know that, and I didn't even know that until I looked it up. But like right there, I should have just had him roll an Arcana check. Be like, this is how the spell works. Roll the Arcana check. Even if he fails it, maybe don't make him burn the spell slot. Then just be like, well, you tried, but you feel like you just can't like make it happen. If he hits someone in the middle of the road, maybe it still strikes, but just once or something. You know, like resort to just a roll or a skill challenge. Just make the players roll, and you know everything will kind of work itself out.
And I do kind of see like how that could be applied to like real life. Okay, so starting a fire is an action, right? But like in action movies, somebody's sitting here over top of the piece of paper and it's like fail, 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 and then they finally get it. But that was like their action, but they did that in a very short amount of time, you know. So that could kind of apply to that.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, that was one of many situations that we've seen on our table. If you guys like that story, please let me know. Or if you have anything similar like that, an impromptu concert, leave it down in the comments. We cannot wait to hear it.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll take whatever you give us. We appreciate you sticking around. We do have a link for our merch and stuff in the description or in the comments below. No, it's in the description.
Yep.
You're not gonna comment a link to our merch.
I mean, you could if you wanted.
Yeah, you can. Anyway, thank you. Please do like and share and subscribe and all that. And we will see you in the next video.
Bye.
Bye.